Did you know you can sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Stockdale, host of the Spin Market Report. In the past year, our podcasts have had over 20,000 total streams, and our YouTube channels have had over 1 million views. Whether you're promoting a product, service, or event, we'll help you reach the audience that matters. Get more information on how to sponsor a podcast at spinmarketwith2ks.com. Spin Market. Your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
We are back, Marketing Monday.
Oh, that's a special day here at Spin Market.
And I'll tell you what, we were in the office, we were in a meeting, and we thought Megan looked so good. We were like, you're on the podcast this week.
Yes.
So we are actually bringing back, believe it or not, our most popular podcast guest we have ever had on any of the podcasts that we have produced here for Spin Market. And it's you still.
Somehow, I don't know. Hi, Mom and Dad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You got pushed into the algorithm on one of the old episodes of Spin It, and talking 900 views plus.
Yeah.
I don't know what the deal is, but yeah, go check that out.
She has quite the fan club.
Absolutely.
Apparently,
so
somehow.
this week, since there's no guest, we're going to switch things up just a little bit. And
there's no guest because we didn't want a guest. It just happens to be where we decided that we were going to be our own guest.
Yes. Okay. So Megan's going to sit with us, and she's going to discuss some stuff that we kind of discuss, quite a bit in this office. And that would be AI. I feel like this has been a hot button issue quite a bit. It comes up at least once almost every podcast, almost regardless of what podcast I'm recording.
It doesn't make any difference whether it's marketing or it's in their business or whatever. It's been coming up.
Yeah, it seems to come up a lot. So we're just going to I'm going to cover some questions here. Maybe just some like generalities about podcasting, maybe some generalities about AI in general. Just what people think about this, what you guys think about it, what you guys think other people think about this, or maybe about what our clients have as thoughts and concerns coming into this. So I'll pose some questions. You guys feel free to answer as you need to, but what do you think people, when they hear AI, what do you think they get wrong the most? AI, obviously, being artificial intelligence. What do you think people get wrong the most?
I think AI can be commonly perceived as bad just because it's growing at such an exponential rate and you can do so many things with it, but that can be seen as a benefit or a detriment. Like there's really so many different conflicting viewpoints of this. And I think a common one is that it's bad because first of all, it does use up water. Like there's environmental factors to think of too, but people don't always like that you kind of takes the creative touch out of certain creative processes, especially as like a designer. Or just anyone in the creative field really. And I think also a big part that has aided in this thought process has been like when you go to an art fair, there might be AI generated artwork and people don't love to see that. Some people love it or they don't even realize it's AI, but now it's becoming more and more easier to recognize because people are so used to seeing it that it doesn't take that much of a trained eye. You can see it from an untrained eye too. And so I feel like from that standpoint, people tend to think of negatively of it usually.
I can see that for sure. And for those that don't know, if you guys haven't listened to the old episodes, Megan is a full-time employee here now. She was, an intern here, and she's actually, does graphic design. She does web design. You create logos and animate the logo. Yes. I mean, you do a lot of stuff. So you do get to see different parts of this than most people would see. One thing you did bring up, though, was people can tell that it's AI. It used to be very easy to tell when things were AI. And even recently I've noticed that like it's getting a little bit more difficult, which is going to be this weird two ships passing in the night thing where now that everyone's using it, we can all kind of tell that it's AI, but there's going to be this point where it grays and you aren't going to be able to tell as much. So I don't know. There's something in there. Do you think this is more of like a tool, a threat, or a multiplier for your business? Either one of you.
I think the biggest threat is the unknown. That's what scares everybody, is they don't know what to expect. They watch too much sci-fi or whatever it may be. And they're thinking that the Terminator is coming on us or whatever. But I look at it as a tool, and that's how I talk to clients on it, is that it's a tool. It's something to help you do things. I also a lot of times use the analogy of, well, it used to be used in an encyclopedia. You were told to write a term paper or something about something for school, and you went to the encyclopedia, you got a lot of information, a lot of data, then it asked you or told you to go and look someplace else for something else, and then you compiled all that information and used it as a tool, and then you wrote your own story.
Yeah.
It's very similar to this. We see chat as being beneficial to help organize things a little bit quicker for you, because going online, there's so much massive amount of information out there. It's mind-boggling when you start looking for it. If you can have something like Chat GTP go in and just say, hey, summarize this for me, and be able to use that and get something done in a lot faster than you trying to find out about it. It's a tool.
Yes. I think I'm going to cover, some of this a little bit later, maybe more in depth. But one thing I have noticed is I think that people who maybe don't have, like if you are a manager or have some sort of, I don't want to say like that type of a role somewhere, you're used to delegating things out. Mm-hmm. It might not be as scary to those people, but think about people like Megan and I are like the, I don't want to say like end users, but we're the end users in the work line here. So it's kind of hard we're not used to delegating things out to other people. So sometimes when we use AI, or at least from my situation, I feel like I don't really want to let go of all the control, and it's not always easy to let go, even if, the parallel I want to draw here is if you are in a managerial role, you always double check someone else's work. You're responsible for the work of the people underneath you. And I think that's the way we need to treat AI.
Exactly.
Because even, we're going to have a guest on here not too long, but I typed in all their information and said, give me some information about this that I can use as my basis for like researching questions. And it kept conflating this company with another company that wasn't even in the same area, and it wasn't even the same industry. And so it's like, okay, I get where like the name of these two companies are similar enough, but like sometimes AI just mushes stuff together that you don't want it to mush together. And that's where double checking everything comes in. You got to have somebody, it can't just run around unfettered. You got to have somebody in the backside, at least looking at everything.
Well, that applies to everything that we do. You're always fact checking something out. So no matter what you do, you really shouldn't take it as being the absolute truth. You need to check, make sure it's there, make sure the grammar is correct, make sure all of those things are correct on there, because a lot of times it'll say you instead of your or whatever on there. So you have to pay attention, and you have to watch it and take it, again, use it as a tool, and understand that somebody still needs to put that information in.
Yeah, and I think Peter and I were talking about this just the other day, though. Also, you don't know what sources it's using. So like Wikipedia, that can be changed by literally anyone on the web. And so it might not have the most reliable sources that it's using either. Even if it sounds reliable, there's definitely a chance it might be incorrect. And so double checking is definitely very important when you're exercising AI usage responsibility, for sure.
Yes. You can prime your AI to do different things too. You can teach it how to do things. There are certain things that I utilize it for where I say only go to these reputable places in order to get me information. I do not want information from anywhere else. And it'll do that for me, as opposed to being like, just go on the internet and tell me what I should do with my taxes, or what should I invest in, or just random things like that. It's like, it's just going to pull something from somewhere. The person might not even know what they're talking about, but it's on a website and it's citing it, even though it might not be a citable source. I think that's one of the things college taught a lot of us too, was know your sources. All right, so let's go to this one. Best uses of AI. How does it save time versus creating more work? What are some of the best instances like people have found, at least for using AI?
So when you're using AI, for me personally, I really try to limit the amount that I use it, but when I do use it, I tend to use it for copywriting, because I'm not a copywriter. I'm usually a designer. So if you're creative, it's like there are certain creative processes that you don't specialize in. And if I tried writing every single thing, it would probably not be great. But I think the best thing when you're using AI is to make sure you're very specific. Like you were saying, citing which source you want it to be from specifically, and being as specific as you can kind of help AI to narrow down what exactly it is you're looking for, because a lot of times you're just making more time for yourself, especially when you don't go back and double check and fact check everything too. It just makes more time.
Yeah, what would you rather do? Have it be correct the first time, or have it spit out 9 pages of stuff and now you got to go read everything and fact check everything?
Yep.
It's this weird balance. I mean, it can help quite a bit, but it can also kind of be a bit of a hindrance. We had talked about this. There's stuff that I do here for Spin Market that on the side I will test out because I want to test it out on something that's I want to say like not monetary, but it's like maybe something I'm doing as a hobby on the side. It's like I'll test it out over here, and one of them was just 100% automated posting of reels, where it's just like create the reels, post them for me, just do it all, make descriptions in the whole 9 yards, and then before you know it, sometimes the descriptions don't have anything to do with what the reel was, and then so you can't just let it go, you know. And that's one of those situations where I found it made more work for me in the long run than if I just had it do maybe like a quarter of the work and did the rest myself. So I would just want to let it run free, but it's not there yet.
Nope, you got to rein it in. You really do, and you need to understand how to program it, how to ask the right questions, be very concise on your part, and then so that it narrows it down, and you chances are going to get things much more correct.
Oh, for sure. There's
there.
literally jobs made for using AI. Like that's kind of your whole role is like you're knowing exactly how to use AI, what search terms you should be using, what keywords and stuff like that in order to properly like store data or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Especially for SEO purposes too. But.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I've utilized, different versions of AI for to try to get, the most optimization out of everything as I can. It doesn't always work the best, but again, nothing's perfect. If I had just done it all on my own, I wouldn't have done it perfect. I would need to bounce an idea off of you or Mackenzie behind the ones and twos over there to kind of get all the information I needed to get out of everything. So how about this one? Where do you think it's being overhyped and misused? I would like to go first and just say that ChatGPT is not as great as everyone thinks it is. It still has a ways to go. I would still say it's 70% right, at 30% wrong, but like 7 out of 3 is not, or 7 out of 10 is not super great odds for me if I wanted to just automate something and let it go. So I don't want to go through and do all the work on the back end that much. So yeah, another thing might be we've all done it to some extent with like ChatGPT. It's the obvious one, but there's Gemini and all the other ones, and they all kind of function sort of the same. But I had Googled something the other day, and the AI response on Google was wrong. I just knew it was wrong. I knew what I was looking for, and it just gave me the wrong answer. But the very first return on Google was the correct answer from like a notable citable source, which made me think like, why? How did you get this wrong when the very first thing, the algorithm you created had the right answer, but the AI couldn't? So it's two different tools, and I just want to point that out that like it's not always right. ChatGPT is not always right. Even if you put a bunch of stuff in there and say just compile this nicely, sometimes it just throws weird stuff in there.
Oh, I know.
They call it hallucinations, but there's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Wonder what they're smoking.
I don't hard telling. Hard telling.
But you, to that point, even sometimes when you go in and say, no, I don't want that. I need to have you do this or in specific. And then they spit the same thing back out again. It's something that not perfect, but learn to use the tool.
Yeah. I've noticed that a lot with, it's getting better, but photo generation, it was
Yes.
always the worst with it. It would not understand commands. And even if it would get you 90% of the way there, but without that last 10%, it's unusable. So you couldn't use what it spit out for you. And like you were talking, Megan, like how many gallons of water have I wasted to generate a photo that I'm not even going to use, and I don't know. There's a lot of that kind of stuff, but do you have anything where you think people are overhyping it or misusing it in any capacity?
I think this is going to be more of a guilty pleasure type thing, but when I'm on TikTok at night and I see an AI video, I'm like, this isn't even funny anymore. Like, it was funny for like the first 5 seconds, and then I realized it's AI, and I'm like, oh, dang it. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a cool use of it, but I think I just like to see when it's more authentic, and I think that's a key indicator of a lot of people in my generation is we tend to like stuff that's more authentic feeling. And so when you come across something that feels very AI, you're just immediately scroll past it.
All right, this is great because this comes into the next set of questions. I'm just going to lump all these together. What happens when a business relies on AI too much? What are the biggest mistakes people are making, and what are some of the decisions they're doing that are making things worse for them using AI? I think we're like on the same page here. My consensus is that most people who don't like AI are just like, I could have typed in prompts and it could have just, end gamed a video for me. And I could, I could have done this by doing no work too. Why should I something, nobody else did any work? I feel like that's the one thing, especially with creatives. It's like, this is the place where you're supposed to be using your brain. But I've noticed a lot of studies are showing like waning faith in businesses that are using AI too much and things like that. We all use it enough that we notice the things that people are doing that, especially here in this office, we use it every day in different capacities. So we know what it can do and what it can't do. We know the easiest ways to use it and the shortcuts, but sometimes it's just like, I don't want to pay this person if they're just taking all the shortcuts. And I think that's one of the big problem that people are having with businesses with their like integrity, I think, is if they're just going to AI everything out there. Now everybody knows, since we've all used it enough now, most people have anyways, that you can kind of see like every post this company makes is AI, or whatever, or this email was obviously AI. I wish I would have had them, even if there were spelling errors or if it wasn't perfectly organized, I would have rather just had somebody type it out and send it back,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And in today's day and age, it's like the DIY day where everyone can make what they want to make with AI. And it's kind of like you're outsourcing yourself to create these things that you could pay someone to do. But you're like, well, I can just make this at home for free, so why not? Or super cheap. But it's like you kind of, I think as an agency or as businesses create stuff, they need to be thinking and using their critical processes and creative habits and all that stuff to kind of build something that is substantial and that is grounded in the client goals or grounded in the business goals, whatever the case might be, because otherwise you kind of lose value.
I would say so for sure.
Well, I thought you brought up a really good one the other day. You had a picture of an ad.
Mm-hmm.
That was AI generated, and they probably should have looked at that a little closer.
I'm glad let's not go too deep into it because we don't want to impact anyone with this. But yes, it was like information was duplicated in two different spots when it shouldn't have been, and like whole company logos were altered when they were spit into this AI generated thing that somebody had created. And I just screenshotted it and sent it over here. And again, I'm not trying to down on anybody, but I think I picked out like 9 different things that were wrong with it. Right. And it was like, wow, I noticed this and like screenshotted it and sent a message to everyone at work and within 5 minutes on a Saturday, and was just like, I did this all in 5 minutes. Imagine what other people think when they scroll by this and see this. It also makes me think about like, I love analogies. One of the analogies I gave was like, imagine if you went into somewhere to like, and they were like, we have the best pizza ever. And you went in there and you ordered a pizza and it was $20 and it was just a Jack's frozen pizza. Like, I would just be like, if you had told me this was going to be a Jack's, I wouldn't have gotten it. But now you've misled me by saying it's the greatest pizza ever. And then you gave me a Jack's. But if you had just advertised that you had Jack's pizzas and made it affordable, I'd be okay with that. But at the same time, I think it's that whole thing where I think people feel like it's the integrity of it all.
Right.
It's this whole thing. So like, it comes down to like, what can it not replace? Or like, how can you use it so that people won't be offended? I think one thing we did the other day was somebody sent us an image and it had a specific background that we wanted to preserve. And we utilized some AI stuff instead of, actually going through and regenerating this background to save the official background they had like sent over to us in this flat image. And it was like, oh, I actually used it for here, and now I can repurpose everything back into here and reformat it in a way I want to. So nobody's going to be able to look at that and be like, oh, this is something that you cleared everything off of with AI and then rebuilt. Like, nobody's going to tell me that. But I think that those are the ways that are the best ways. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, for companies to use AI is use it as something as like a building block for something else. It has to be in the back end of something, or it has to be something you're doing where people won't notice, or if they do notice, they won't be offended by the fact that you're using it.
Yep. I know as a creative, one specific tool that others would probably already know about, but Photoshop's generative AI, which I believe is what you used for that picture.
I used it on one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and that is like a lifesaver sometimes. If you want to take out a power line of a picture, take it out. Like, it's not like you're going in with your eraser tool and deleting it and then painting it back, whatever you need to do in Photoshop. There's the stamp tool, all that kind of stuff, but this is just like done. So I think especially stuff like that, like Peter said, where it's not going to be offensive because you're not trying to replicate someone's face or something that's going to be easily recognizable. It's just the backdrop. So it's like no one's going to notice that. I think especially for fine-tuning and creating stuff that is going to be very fast and it's not like it's necessary to take the time out of your day to create it, I think it can be helpful for those kind of areas. But
so another one of the questions I have on here, do you think AI can make good marketers better, or does it just make bad marketers louder? And this is like such a weird question because
That's a good question.
Yeah, because I feel like it can go both ways in a hurry. So is there anything wrong with being louder? I would say no. I'm going to start off with that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. If you don't post something every single day online, you're going to get lost in the mix. If you don't post something every single day on your social media, people just might not see it. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, you can't post 28 things a day because now people might, you're losing people in your own algorithm. So people might not see stuff because they saw your other stuff, and you don't want that. So you have to find this happy medium for what you want, and you have to find a way to actually produce something that's going to be useful to other people. And it's not always super easy to do that. Before I kick this over to you guys, I do want to say it's both. It is both. It can increase your efficiency. For example, some properties of video and audio editing, it takes me longer to do it manually than it would if I had AI do certain things. But it's also one of those things I described earlier. I can't just say, turn the AI up to 100 and just go, because it's not going to produce the correct thing. So I still have to put the work into it, So it has the ability to make me more efficient, but at the same time, it has the ability to make me louder. But if somebody's creating bad content, now your bad content's just louder, and so you need to have good content that's the very first thing. But
and you bring up a really good point about time efficiency. You've heard a lot of times where cell phones and computers and whatever actually cost you more time to do certain things with it. It's not any different than with the AI end of it as well. You just have to, it's a tool. I think that's the main word I always use is it's a tool, and use a tool as it needs to be used properly.
Yeah, like don't let it take over everything completely. And people notice that too, especially externally, like social media, whatever the case might be. If you have a certain voice that feels AI generated, they're going to know. And if you have content that's always AI generated, they're going to know. But if you kind of start to implement a bit of a human voice, like people pick up on that. They like authenticity. So I think that's kind of where you kind of have to find a good cross line in between there to make your marketing work better with AI. There's definitely a way to do that, but it's kind of more nuanced than just slap something together with AI. But okay, good. Like you kind of have to.
You have to do something on the back end. Mm-hmm. Like we had talked about that one ad there. Let's just say, I'm just going to throw out, for instance, there was like 9 or 10 different, I want to say like information points on there, whether they be a photo, a logo, or whatever. Had somebody just grabbed all 9 of those and put it on a background themselves, it would have looked a lot different than if they just dumped it into AI and said, do it for me. So I feel like there still has to, like you said, there has to be that human touch going into things, and that sometimes people miss that. All right, I'm going to combine a couple more things down here. So if somebody's feeling overwhelmed by AI, or they just never used it or whatever, where should they start? What should they absolutely try to do? But what should they also absolutely try to avoid?
If you're wanting something really simple to start with, ChatGPT has some pretty good meal plans.
There you go.
That's a simple one.
Yes. I think honestly the text ones are the easiest ones to get into, whether that be Gemini or what it is. Ask it a question, it gives you an answer. Double check the answer, please. Absolutely double check the answer. Good example of that was somebody was trying to sue ChatGPT because it gave it a recommendation to substitute salt in their food for something else, and this other thing was actually something that's non-edible by humans. If you eat too much of it, it actually is very, very harmful. And they went to the doctor and were like, "Why am I feeling sick?" And this is why. And they said, "Well, ChatGPT told me to eat this," but it just pulled information off of something. There's not enough information for it to decide that oh, you want less sodium in your diet. It doesn't say I'm a cow, I'm a camel, I'm a dog or a cat or whatever. It just said, well, then put this in there. It wasn't checking to see whether or not it would poison you. It just said this will reduce the sodium or whatever. So you have to.
So technically it was right.
So take everything that ChatGPT tells you with a grain of salt.
And that's why she's the most listened to podcaster.
That's why we got Megan with us. Okay.
I would say what you need to do, find something easy like ChatGPT, Gemini, Google, whatever it is, and start using it today. But don't use it for everything. That's the only recommendations I have. You're gonna have to find your own balance. Whether your own company, you're gonna have to figure out what works best for you, what doesn't work best for you. If you don't know stuff, go ask somebody. I mean, that's why people like us are here. There's different tech people you can talk to that have different applications for different portions of AI and can program it to do different things. We have people on retainer here with software developers and things like that can help us out with certain things like that we don't already have available to us. So AI can be used for a lot of different things, but you got to start somewhere. I think that's the one thing, but you can't just shift into full AI mode and be like, all right, we're firing everybody and we're just automating the whole, it's not going to be that easy.
It's going to kind of depend on what your goals are too. Are you wanting to create? Are you wanting to just ask it random questions, like make your life easier, focus on your lifestyle, habits and stuff like that? There's plenty of different ways you can use it, but I think just kind of honing it down, taking everything with a grain of salt, no pun intended, and doing your research, double checking, making sure that you are specific with your prompts.
All right. Is AI something that businesses should be afraid of, or should they work alongside of it?
I don't think they should be afraid of it because every business is using it now.
It's funny because if you go talk to people, they're just like, I don't use AI. I don't use AI. Well, guess what? 99.7% of people in the United States use AI every single day.
Yes.
According to a study that I just recently found from what I would call a reputable source. And that's because it's been integrated into literally everything we do. It's a good thing. I don't think anyone should avoid it, honestly. But at the same time, you have to find the right way to work alongside of it. You can't just turn it on and say, go. You have to tell it what to do. And even then, you have to double check it because it's not always right. Again, this comes down to this like managerial supervisor type tiered ladder system. Like you can't just, we all had those first jobs we worked at. Like I don't want to pigeonhole anyone, but like at a grocery store or a gas station or fast food, like, sometimes the supervisors had to get after the people because the workload wasn't being completed correctly and whatever. And that's no different than AI. You have to come in and check it. But at the same time, let's say one of the things we offer is like an inbox for people where you can go to a website and talk to people, but it's actually AI. We can program it and we can find responses that are working and ones that don't. And we can teach it, say, when somebody asks this, reference these things, or if somebody does those things, do this. And we could teach it and train it, and it can learn from not only us, but the people that are using it. And, this isn't something that we just set up and then just walk away from. We have to monitor these things, but it's so much easier than having the Spin Market call center where there's 90 people on phones and computers actively responding to stuff. That takes forever. That takes so much time, energy, and money. Some of the things we have that we can help people out with, being like a secretary or like possibly an HR type person. There's different things you can use AI for as a supplement of something. And, instead of saying we need a full-time HR person, well, guess what? Now you have maybe a fractional HR person and this AI that's helping, and it can do some stuff like that. I think that's one of the biggest things people need to learn to work alongside of it instead of just letting it go.
Usually most of the things that we're advocating to use an AI assistant with is repetitive. Something, an HR assistant, maybe that HR assistant is able to tell an employee how much PTO they have. It's one of those type of things where it can be programmed to go in, look at that person's file and see how much PTO that they have available, and frees up the HR assistant or the actual HR director to focus on actually jobs and filling jobs or whatever it may be that they need to individually do themselves, where the HR assistant is able to answer those questions of something simple like PTO.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. You need to use AI as something that will help you do mundane tasks a lot easier. One of the first things I remember using it for was when I was creating short form videos. And then it's like, well, you can use AI to kind of help you. And I was like, no. Again, it was, I didn't want to let go of the control, but all right, I'll spend a couple dollars and we'll just try it. Just a couple dollars once and we'll try it. Spent a couple dollars and tried it. And I couldn't believe how much easier it made my life. Instead of spending, 2-3 hours on something, now I only had to spend an hour on it, which, again, you have to sit down and calculate and measure these things to see whether or not it was actually useful, but it was useful to me in that sense. And it took me a long time to actually admit that it would be. You know, again, some of that it's you don't want to let go of these things because it's.
And that's your point is really good. It's a fear of letting go. The used to being in charge of it, in handling it, and then letting it go and letting something else that you actually in some ways don't totally understand. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking about AI, everybody somebody saying, no, I don't use AI. If you have an Alexis or a Siri's or anything, I mean, that's
Google
what
Home thing.
Google Home, that was AI. It just, we didn't call it that.
Mm-hmm. So as we get close to the end of this, because we're not going to do the typical ending question on this, because we all know.
We all know marketing.
Yes. Well enough for sure. But is there something like we can go away with like a kind of a final thought on this? I do want to say, when you said if it's something that's non-personal, like if it's somebody's face, a lot of times I've noticed AI, even if you tell it to leave it alone, even if you pull it off to the side and say, don't touch this at all, it still kind of seems like it dinks with stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So stuff that's going to be readily recognizable, don't push it through an AI filter. Mm-hmm. That's something I think of. The other thing is AI is kind of like a hammer. It's like probably the most useful tool in the world, but you're not going to change your brakes with just a hammer. You know, you can't build a house with only a hammer, you know? So like best tool ever invented, maybe, but there's other tools you need to use to finish the job too.
For sure.
So,
yeah.
How about you guys? What do you think about last thoughts on this?
I think it can be supplemental. It can definitely help out, but it should be limited, especially with things that should be face-to-face or personal or feel more human. Like you don't want to take the whole human feel out of things. That's kind of my main thing. I mean, there's also ethical concerns around it, but some people feel whichever way they feel about it. And it's just something to consider, I guess, for sure. That's my take on it.
I always go back to the client and say, what is your brand? How do you want that brand to look? And in what areas can you implement AI without changing that brand? Mm. And really thinking about it that way. Basically your SOP, your standard operating procedures, your branding, all of that. Think about that first, and then look at what AI can help as well as improve or change or whatever on there without changing your brand, without making changes within your company that lose the trust of your clients.
Absolutely. So as we close this out, is there anything that we forgot? Is there anything that, you listeners, I'm sure you use AI too. Is there anything that we forgot? Should we have mentioned something or brought up a topic or discussed something that we didn't discuss? I feel like we did a pretty good job of covering a lot of things.
I would encourage people to go in the comment section when this comes out.
Yeah.
And write those things down.
Yeah.
But let's write down constructive comments so that we can.
Don't use AI to make your comments.
That's right.
No, honestly, I'm curious. I talk to a lot of people about this. This is something that for whatever reason, I have a lot of discussion about this, even outside of here. It's just, maybe it's because it's what I use a lot here, but at the same time, I know AI is so open-ended that I'm only using like a small sliver of AI to its max capacity, when in all honesty, like some of the other services, like the stuff that Cheryl and Abby and Megan use, you guys are using a different window of AI, at times than I am. So I feel like this is something that it's only going to you can't get left behind. That's going to be the big thing. Mm-hmm. Imagine if you just never used email, or if you never bought a cell phone, or if you never got on the internet, or you never bought a car and you're still in a horse and buggy or whatever it happens to be. It's not like you're worse off, but you're missing out on something. Right. And I don't want anyone to miss out on something by not using AI, but at the same time, as we've discussed, touchy subject.
It is.
Touchy subject.
Definitely important to know how to use, for sure. Like, because it's going to advance no matter what you do. Like, it's continuing to grow and grow so vastly, so quickly. It can be kind of scary sometimes, but you definitely have to kind of get shown the ropes or learn them yourselves, or
you don't want to be left behind.
Get well versed in it, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that hammer analogy. Hammers can fix everything. I mean, in theory, you could fix a window with a hammer by just breaking it and buying a new one, but that comes down to you had to do more work now again. So I don't know. This is such a fun topic. I feel like we could just do every week, just do an AI podcast, just talk about new things we've seen and done with it, and how we're using it, and how we don't prefer to use it. I think that's something else that's I can't believe how many people are just scared of it, or they're not, like you said, I don't know if they think the Terminator is going to come get them or what the deal is, but there are ways to use it well. And I feel like if you can use it and nobody notices, that might be the best way, honestly. That's just my opinion, but you can't not use it. Because it's everywhere. So if you got any questions about AI stuff, call us, just swing in. We can, at least, if nothing else, we can have like a 5-minute sit down and just be like, this is something, or this isn't something, or yes or no, or we have services we can offer to people as well. If you have a company or something and you want to know how you can implement this kind of stuff, give us a call, take a meeting. Maybe we can do a seminar somewhere or something like that. But definitely an open-ended conversation about this needs to be had by all business professionals, I think.
The resources that we can bring in, the professionals all over the world that we are working with, it's pretty astronomical. So there isn't any question that somebody can bring to us that we probably can't find somebody to answer that question for you. Yeah,
it's wild when you're like, we have a tool that can do this. And it's like, well, can it do this? And you're like, I don't know. Let me talk to somebody.
Yes.
And then the person you're talking to is a software developer. And it's like, oh, okay. They could probably figure it out. So I don't know. It's kind of cool. I don't know. Swing in and say hi. Let us know in the comments what you think about AI, what you're using it for, what you refuse to use it for. I want to see what you like and what you don't like about it. So drop a line, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're listening to this. Just let us know and we'll find it and maybe we'll get back to you. Awesome.
And to be continued.
Yeah. This is probably going to come back up again. I feel like we need to have more of these sit down conversations.
And bring Megan in because it'll increase our algorithms.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's what you're using me for. It's
there
fine.
you go. Yeah, that's okay, Megan.
We'll zoom in, get an even closer up on her next time.
Oh, gosh. Please don't.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Megan.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.